Knoxville? I don't know. We're back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Talking to the commercial break about exactly how the smoking ban is going to work here in Metro Nashville. First question for me, and maybe you can think about this when we get to a phone call in a moment. Jeff, Syracuse, councilperson, how do you define, what is smoking?
What is smoking?
What is smoking?
Inhaling a tobacco product.
Okay, I guess.
In some form
inhaling,
or fashion.
exhaling, burning, or carrying a lighted cigar, cigarette, pipe, lighted tobacco. I guess it doesn't have to be tobacco. Well, definition of tobacco could be marijuana, could be legal tobacco.
It could be legal tobacco. It could be via an e-cigarette. It could be via a regular standard cigarette that we all know.
And this ordinance that's coming down the pike is something that would affect all of that in terms of the idea of smoking in any kind of bar, 21 and over.
Inside. Just inside.
Right. Inside.
Yes.
Let's take a call from Mickey here and see. Mickey, good morning. Hi, Mickey.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. What's on your mind?
So a couple of questions. So you mentioned cigar bars a minute ago, so I'd like to know what's going on with the cigar bars.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what about private clubs? If somebody wants to have an establishment in a private club, I know that's come up before.
Yep.
And I have another question after that if you want to respond to that real quick.
Okay, yeah. Stay on hold. We'll answer those, and I'll come right back to you. So, yeah, those are good questions. We were going to get into exceptions. So, cigar bars, how does that shake down?
Cigar bars are carved out based on the state authorizing legislation. So it's not even something that we can regulate here at a local level. So they're already protected.
Okay, so there's a cigar bar. If this ordinance passes, nothing really changes there. Individuals can still go enjoy a cigar that they buy at this place and have a cocktail whenever they'd like. That's okay.
Right.
As far as private clubs per se.
I think there's another statewide exemption for private clubs that's separate from age-restricted venues.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. So you think that's not included underneath the ordinance. Hey, I'm curious, Mickey, what like a private club, I don't know, what comes to mind on something like that for you? What would a private club be?
Would just be somebody who just wants to get the business, who wants to try to bypass it, and they want to help smokers, and so they just say, this is the way we can do it. We can have our own establishment and let smokers come in.
Okay, so I wonder then, yeah, okay, and I see what he's saying there, and we'll get to your second question or third question in a moment. Yeah, what if one of these bar owners who, you know, doesn't like this decides, well, I'm not really a bar, I'm a private club.
Some sort of membership-based
I guess, I
only.
don't know, I mean.
You know, I don't know what the pro forma of a restaurant or a club like that would be, but I don't know that it would be successful long term.
Okay.
You know, how many? You'd have to do some marketing research to determine what is your clientele base, and you know, are you going to be able to pay rent in Nashville and hospitality workers and everything to run a place like that?
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like JB said, they're carved out.
They're carved out. What was your other question, Mickey?
But not really a question, just a comment on the whole thing. I'm just a big advocate of personal responsibility. You know, and I think if you made the establishment to post, hey, this is a smoking bar, beware, and you know, they don't have to come in. Mm-hmm. And you know, and we're worried about the health aspect. You know, I mean, let's just look at alcohol itself. I mean, look how damaging alcohol can be. Mm-hmm. Somebody, you know, leaves an establishment, and they're way more likely to go kill somebody than somebody who's been, you know, exposed to smoke in the establishment. I wouldn't want to go that far as, you know, banning alcohol, but it's just kind of an analogy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm just a big advocate of personal responsibility. And if you post there, we allow smoking, you don't have to come in, and the performers don't have to perform there.
Yeah. Okay. And that's a fair argument to be made there, to bring up. You know, I mean, it's. Some people are going to say, you know, it's private industry, private business, and they should be able, within the law, to decide for themselves and post. How do you respond to that?
Oh, I would say I understand a personal responsibility. What about seatbelts? Mm-hmm. We have laws that say you have to wear a seatbelt. It should be a personal responsibility situation there where you choose not to wear a seatbelt? Mm-hmm. I think at some point we as a society have a collective responsibility to each other, and so what this is protecting those that produce economic impact for the state. And so personal responsibility, sometimes there's a collective aspect to that and not just each individual. And so seatbelts, I would say, is an example of that. And so is this.
Yeah, okay, because I guess, and again, I think, Mickey, you made a good point. It's worth discussing. But yeah, the driving force behind this, at least it seems from your perspective, isn't that, oh, where there's haze and it smells bad or whatever. It's health. It was your health issue here, is that you're not just you, but the other patrons in there, like myself, who doesn't smoke, that doesn't want to be around that much heavy smoke.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of the main difference on the alcohol analogy
Again,
as well.
no one's blowing alcohol in your face.
Right. The second hand, that's
Sure.
where the sort of personal responsibility crosses over into how it affects those around you as well. And I know that I've heard the argument a lot too, that if you don't like it, don't play there. And I get that. That is a reasonable argument, but it's all, like I said, is a working class issue, and a lot of us maybe don't have the luxury to be as selective with the gigs we take coming out of the pandemic, and just trying to put food on the table in terms of playing music that way or working behind the bar that way. And a job's a job, and you got to take it. And so that's always been something I've battled with when someone says that to me.
Yeah. I mean, and again, you have a health condition too that you say was made worse by the smoke.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I would love to go to a lot of these places too, just as a patron, but I can't, because I know that it's gonna affect my health that way and have long-lasting impacts. So I hope this happens, because I would love to support a lot of these businesses too that I can't right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and as you said, the studies appear to show that the businesses it'll actually increase for them as opposed to the other way around. And I'll tell you, the truth is, health is, I think, very important to be a priority for me. But if this was going to cost businesses and, of course, them to shut down, it's not going to happen. State lawmakers would not have passed this.
Right.
Not a chance.
That's true.
Because they're all about the bottom line and money, which is unfortunate most of the time, if you ask me. But what about the idea? I'm trying to think of other exceptions he made me consider. Private clubs. There's golf clubhouses, golf courses, and sometimes in those, and I don't know, I haven't been to one recently, I don't know if it's true of the public courses, but there's private ones as well, where I'm sure they're smoking cigars after the round in the clubhouse. Any idea on how it would affect something like that?
That's a good question. Could they claim the exemption based on the level of cigars on a retail basis that they sell there? Perhaps. I don't know of any golf courses or golf clubs that...
okay. I know a lot of folks, golfers, sometimes smoke a cigar on the course. Certainly that's what
Sure.
there is, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's... All right, didn't know. And what about vaping? All right, a lot of people vape. How does that work out? And not just... I guess vaping would be off limits inside these, it's counting as smoking, correct?
It's the same thing. Vaping and e-cigarettes are largely unregulated by the FDA. I mean, there's some serious health risks and concerns there as well.
Yeah.
So, is there a secondhand smoke issue there too? I think it's a slippery slope when you start carving out certain products like that, and so they would be asked to go outside just like a regular cigarette smoker as well.
Yeah, and like cigar stores or vaping establishments that sell the cartridges and like that. I guess you wouldn't want them, they're not bars, but that's where they sell the stuff, but maybe that's where you smoke inside those areas.
And there's already a carve out there for if you are a predominantly retail oriented tobacco store, or you're selling the vape products, then that this doesn't apply to you.
Okay. Well, what does the mayor say about this? Are they looking at it and you have support there?
The mayor's office is very much in support, yes.
So the second reading is tonight. That takes 3 readings, right?
Correct. This is second.
How did it pass on the first round?
Most ordinances all pass on first reading just as a standard process of getting it into the process. So second reading now is when it goes through committees. I do chair public health and safety, and so it'll go before my committee tonight, and then it'll go to the full floor.
Okay, so as you sit here right now, what does it look like? And what have you heard from some of your fellow council persons?
I mean,
where do they?
Sure. I think there's pretty strong support. There are some amendments from a few colleagues.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, there's 2 colleagues have amendments that grandfather in the establishments, but that really guts the entire intent of the bill in the first place. So I certainly can't support that. And then there is a potential carve out for e-cigarette establishments, but as far as I know, there's only 1, maybe 2 So I don't think we want to start carving that out.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You start before you know it. You got the thing all the way through.
Right.
But you think, do you worry about that, or I mean, just?
Yeah, I think that it.
I mean, I wonder if they tried to do that at the state level when you were there.
They didn't there, so that's an interesting thing, and I think that it's you can't always please everybody, but you're looking to protect the most amount of people that you possibly can, while also being reasonable and listening to folks. And I think what we have here is really accomplishing that.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line really, it's about health.
Amen.
That's it. Did the American Heart Association, others, talk about how they got involved, or what?
I've got to give props to Jamie about building this extraordinary coalition.
Okay, because I was going to say, when you mentioned the guy, I should have thought of that. I mean, there's the musicians.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm thinking American Cancer Society, maybe the American Heart Association. What about the roles they play?
Science-based organizations
Yeah.
that Jamie has built. Yes.
There's been, like when we launched this coalition, it was just a few of us artists in the middle of the pandemic, and then it was just an overwhelming amount of support from the community, from venues, from public health organizations like American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, all of these folks that have been waiting and really hoping that this could happen as well. And it really showed us, like, oh, the community really feels like this needs to happen too, and that kind of empowered us to keep working and keep pushing through and have the confidence to go out there and try to change state law.
Yeah, that's interesting, and they actually saw that you started doing this, because that's exactly the type. I thought American Heart Association would have been out, but I thought they may have come to you, but you went to them, or they saw this happening, and then of course they were all on board on this. Have you talked to them at all? Or?
Absolutely, big supporters. They've written in to council members in strong supports. Absolutely. So it's nice to see the musicians, hospitality community, and the science-based organizations are advocating that this is good for public health, it's good for business.
Yeah, I wonder too, since we've seen this happen in other cities, it's probably going to happen here, and I mean around the country. This is going to be the first city in Tennessee, though,
Correct.
to take advantage of this.
Yep.
What about at the federal level? Yeah, and not that you guys deal with that at all, but as musicians, is this something that would ever be a potential to look at the federal level, where they try to consider this type of thing? Have you even considered that?
I honestly
Well, see,
haven't
when you
considered it,
run
yeah.
for U.S. Congress at some point, now that you have all this experience, okay? The singing congressman, no? But I mean, I don't know. Is there nothing at the federal level that regulates any of this stuff, is there?
Not really, no. I think the last thing that came out of the federal government that I saw was around menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of marketing that's gone into underserved populations that's been pretty predatory, and they're trying to tackle that. But that's as far as I've seen.
All right, we'll take a break. Our final segment coming up. We'll wrap things up. I want to get some tales from you about some of the venues that you've played that were so smoky and how you handled it, and how that went down. We'll be right back. Wrap things up right after this. I mean,